I think Boston found it out that you need guy by committee there. This is more of a trend than anything.
If he just knocked down his threes in these playoff runs, bro, and got from like 29 to 35, 37, you wouldn't even be having these conversations. Like,
there is a lot to talk about. It'll probably lead me into my hot take of the week. But based off of what we saw from, the last game, and I know by the time people hear this game will have ended, so things could wildly change. But Bezos, can you talk about what you mean by Jayson Tatum? Because in the last game, he definitely did not give Himothy vibes.
What do you mean talk about him? Like his play so far?
I mean, just his play so far, and you sound kind of disappointed as a fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Jayson Tatum, depending on the conversation, and it could change very quick, can either be the overrated player in the room or the underrated player in the room. Like, easy as that. One conversation, we're putting him in top 30 talks, questioning if he's the best player on this team. Next conversation, we're trying to put him in top 5 MVP, Jokic, Luka conversations in an instant. I think in these playoffs so far, he has not played great. He has not played bad. He has played average to mid for me. And, it's one of those things where we can acknowledge how he's impacting the game. He is playmaking. He is defending. He is doing all of these things. He's not getting in the way of that offense that has been really big as to this team's success. However, we can also acknowledge as well that this is a guy getting paid big bucks to score 28, 30 points a game. And even though he's getting good looks, his shot selection is decent. At some point, we got to hold this guy accountable. We got to hold this guy accountable for not making the shots he's supposed to make. So,
Sage, because Boston is really, really good at, making changes in the offseason and making maneuvers, you as Boston Celtics GM, are you looking at this finals, looking at the last finals, and saying to yourself, I mean, we kind of need a guy here? Or are you banking on Jaylen Brown being that guy? Or are you banking on just, hey, these are just 2 bad showings from Jayson Tatum. I expect us to be here in a couple more years, next year, the year after that, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to be my guy.
I think this is going to sound like the dumbest shit possible. I think you have your guy in Jayson Tatum. However, this is also simultaneously what you expect out of Jayson Tatum. And I think that's why you've gotten the pieces around him to complement when he's going to have these bad shooting nights, because his value as potentially a rebounder, defender, or even playmaker are at his size are valuable enough to make him not just like, oh my God, you fucking suck, dude. But like, that's why you have a Jaylen Brown who can essentially be the exact same 24 point per game scorer, but instead of shooting 42%, shooting 53%. You have Derek White, that's essentially a 40% knockdown all NBA shooter. KP, scary similar statement. Drew Holiday in the postseason, scary similar statement. So by the way, yeah, this shit's absurd. But I think that's what I'm talking about when I say that Jayson Tatum, he's still gonna be viewed as our guy in Boston. I wouldn't necessarily, pull a trigger and be like, oh yeah, let's just get 2 more 85 overalls and get rid of Tatum, and now let's really be a super duper team, right? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, Tatum is valuable for what he can do for you guys when he's not scoring the ball, which is something that we've been asking for him to do. Now, unironically, we're asking him to make shots again. Hopefully, I'm not getting derailed from the conversation. And I had a point and I lost. Go ahead.
It wouldn't be, let's get rid of Tatum. It's just, hey, we understand that he's not the guy. Because I think the way that they've built this team is guy by committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have a Derek White game. We're gonna have a Drew Holiday game. But let's just say it doesn't work out. Hell, even if it does, how long can we bank on guy by committee? Or do we just say, you know what? We're going to have to sacrifice Derek White. We're going to have to sacrifice Porzingis. And we're going to need to get a real guy here.
Oh, no. I think Boston found it out that you need guy by committee there, because Jayson Tatum, and this, hey, it's criticism, not hate. This is more of a trend than anything. A lot of people will talk about specific series where he's on fire and shit like that. I think the happiest I've been with Jayson Tatum in the postseason, Bezos, correct me if you have a better series for you, but Brooklyn Nets. I have never been like, oh yeah, Tatum's on timing, more than it was when he beat the dog shit out of Brooklyn. But I mean, we can just look at it without even going series by series. Jayson Tatum in the last 4 years, even. I thought I was going to say 3. In the last 4 years, when we factor in a grand total of 67 playoff games, is averaging 26 points, 9 rebounds, basically, 6 assists, basically, but on 43-34 from 3. That don't sound like Jayson Tatum at all, but that's what he can do for you when he can't score the ball. So you're going to need, unironically, a guy by committee. You're going to need that, hey, we need the Derek White game, that's 1. We need the JB game, that's 2. We going to get a Tatum game, that's 3. Game 4, we're all in this together. All right, we win the series. You're going to need some shit like that. You cannot lower the guy by committee to try to get more consistent offense out of one specific guy, because all that sets up is a potential matchup that a team can scheme for. You can't scheme for Derek White dropping 20, and I think that's what makes it seem dangerous. Can't scheme for Drew Holiday to give you 27. You can scheme for Jaylen Brown dropping 30 on you. That's kind of what he's going out there to do. But you get what I'm saying? Like, KP cool with 15, but at the same time, he might give you 30. And I think that's what makes this Boston Celtics team such a threat.
Guys, springtime is sprung, and that means America's pastime is here. Grab you a Frank, grab you a beer, and head on over to Prize Picks and play daily fantasy sports. Make sure you download the app or head over to the website. I see Mookie Betts, 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I'm going to go more naturally. And then I'm going to go Kyle Harrison, more on hits allowed. I'm going to place my money in my entry. Let's go column 10. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit place entry.
And thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks, if you guys use code LKIB, you guys get a 100% match on your first deposit of up to $100. And hopefully you can win some money as well if you really know baseball or basketball or really any sport you want to play. Links to everything will be in the description down below. And shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this podcast.
My only issue would be finding pieces that would fill the guy by committee need.
That's always gonna be
Drew Holiday's 45, right? KP is jelly knees, jelly ankles, truly.
Sure.
Al Horford is definitely 90. And we've seen this series what happens when since they've been on this team, we've seen what happens when they've tried to replace Al Horford. And man, they just honestly, Boston should get some sort of MVP trophy to Al Horford. Not because of his performance this season, but because how much he has allowed y'all to survive for the past
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. with Embiid, with Giannis, with how he's guarding like fucking Luka Doncic at 40 years old.
Yeah.
At 40 years old. My God, when Al Horford retires, don't know. I don't know what to. He even gave you a game.
He should be him being retired in the Raptors is an interesting conversation. I can't
Oh, damn, that's one of my. But yeah, so like that's the reason why I hate the guy by committee, because during that whole time, during all those 7 years, they have always tried to get somebody to we finally gonna get Al less minutes, bring him to the bench, and we're gonna get somebody to fill a spot.
Up. Yeah, Rob Will.
It was supposed to be Rob Will, but then Rob Will had the injury history.
So boy, Rob Will.
Yeah, Rob Will was the closest one.
This nigga is Xavier Tillman right now looks crazy. He looks crazy. Like, so that's the reason. No, I'm being dead ass. But that's the reason why I'm not necessarily the fan of the guy by committee. But I mean, it's what you got today. So definitely roll it out.
You're gonna have it next year. That's
I think what's gonna happen is if the Celtics win, they're gonna give JT. I think even if they lose, I'm gonna be honest, they're gonna give JT the supermax. It is so hard to find that guy in this league, a top 15 player in this league, specifically that wants to play for Boston. If you can lock up that dude for 4 or 5 years, you lock him up. Especially if they win a championship. It's gonna be a loyalty contract at the very least. If not, he just genuinely deserves it. And then at that point, hey man, maybe it's just me being more still optimistic about this guy, but I've seen Jaylen Brown make improvements over the last year as a 26-year-old. I do think there is going to be a time where Jayson Tatum cannot get away with the things he's getting away with right now. But I'm very interested to see what he's going to be when he's 28, 29, 30. I think that's going to be a completely different player than what we're seeing right now. So hopefully by then I don't know, bro. Hopefully he's not working with Drew Hamlin by that point. Now let me chill.
Oh.
Just shooting 30% from 3 is crazy, bro. I can't lie. If he just knocked down his threes in these playoff runs, bro, and got from like 29 to 35, 37, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. Like, if he legitimately just hit the threes he was taking, bro.